The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Filip Hronek has been one of the key players for the Vancouver Canucks this season, but you know what? He's not making those big boy dollars yet. The Canucks, they're probably going to give him the big boy dollars, but how much should he make? We're going to tell you next here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer for Daily Hive Vancouver, and also your co-host here on Locked On Canucks. Before we dive into the show today, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It is your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe or follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I also got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on today's episode, we're going to talk about Filip Hronek, okay? And part of the reason we wanted to bring it up is because we talked about those UFAs yesterday. Which UFA should the Vancouver Canucks extend? Go check that episode out if you missed it. It was an awesome conversation. You know, feeling fresh after Christmas. But today we want to talk about Filip Hronek, his payday predictions, and you know what we've liked and haven't liked about the players so far. As we get further down into the episode, we want to talk about the defense pairs for the Canucks because you know the Canucks defense has been about league average, but how can they best optimize their blue line with the players they have? We're going to talk about that. And then finally, want to shout out a Cam Neely former Canuck of the week in segment 3. And I'll give a little tease there. It's another defenseman, okay? But speaking of which, I want to introduce my co-host. I don't think he played a lick of defense during his ball hockey career. Kyle Bowen, how you doing, brother?
I tried playing defense in my ball hockey career in Langley at the hockey house. I don't know if you've ever been to the hockey house. Their dressing rooms look like a serial killer's best dream, for real. It just murderous in there. Anyways, I tried playing defense. I didn't get the thumbs up from the team. Went immediately back to forward. This all being said, nobody cares about my ball hockey career, okay?
No, I do care. I do care. Before we get to that, because I was at a party. Well, I was at your Christmas party.
Okay.
And I talked to someone who was like, bro, Kyle was a power forward. And I was like, what?
I
have never heard you call yourself a power forward.
Who said that?
Adam.
There you go. I told you, man. I was fucking. Oh, I swore there. My bad. When I talk about the ball hockey team, it gets a little fun here. Okay, my bad. I know we're live. Okay, I was the guy though. I'm not gonna front. All right, and I'm still a power forward. Okay, this time in the bedroom though. You know what I'm saying? All right. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. We're gonna talk about Filip Hronek and pretty much guess this contract because I think it's a lot of fun, and I think the Vancouver Canucks should sign Filip Hronek tomorrow, even though I did bring up how yesterday maybe that the Vancouver Canucks could benefit from having a bunch of players still having to prove it deep into the season, having to prove it deep into the playoffs, right? That individual narrative that these players have, Joshua, Lafferty, etc., Hronek, right? Pettersson, maybe not giving them the contract and giving them more to prove, aka more to gain, will again benefit the team, but that could also be dangerous, okay? Let's say Filip Hronek has a monster playoffs. Maybe we're not paying him 8. Maybe we're paying him 8.75. Maybe we're paying him 9.
Yeah, and I think the main goal with Hronek has to be, and I think our viewers are pretty smart people, the deal's got to come in below Hughes' 7.85 AAV.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's easier
You
said
think so?
than done. I think so. I
hope so. I hope so.
Hughes is still under contract for what, 2 or 3 more years past this season? I think you want to have Hronek come in under Hughes AAV, and I think that's probably fair value to the Canucks. Now, if you look at it, I'll bring up Hronek's player card from The Athletic right now. So right now, based on Hronek's player card at The Athletic, his market value is $7.4 million. Now, I should say, because I brought this up a few times, the market value is based on the last 3 years of play, but it's more heavily weighted to this season, obviously. Everydayers might remember we brought Hronek's player card up in the spring, and he was an $8.1 million player in terms of his value.
Yeah.
So kind of surprising to see that his market value has dropped, even though he's widely been considered to be, pretty rock solid defenseman for Vancouver. But I think as you've kind of seen in the numbers and on ice recently, Hronek and Hughes just haven't been as dominant as they were early in the season. And we'll talk about the defense pairs later on in the show. But has that given you any pause, Kyle, when you're thinking about the next contract for Filip Hronek? The fact that he hasn't quite been as dominant as he was early in the season.
I think if I were a different person, then yeah. But right now, I'm leaning into this narrative that I've created for myself, and that's that this team and its superstars, the same players who were doing the most for this team in October and November, are a little tired, and they needed this 5-day break. They needed some family time. You know what I'm saying? To really rekindle what they were bringing to the table early on. And Filip Hronek is part of that boat. You know, Pedersen's part of that boat. JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, all these guys. Like, you need this break so you can bring your game to that A++ level that you were bringing early on. And Filip Hronek, I think he has that. Now, I do agree with you, though. He has been playing, like, again, I like to bring the NHL overall metric into my spiel. And I think he went from playing like a 90 overall early on to playing like a 87 and 86, 88 over the last handful of weeks. And I'll even say this, I think on Saturday, he was probably our worst defenseman. And ironically, Noah Juleson was our best defenseman on Saturday. So yeah, there's still a lot to see from Filip Hronek. I'm just hoping that maybe this team, who needs to save money, you know, down the road to keep things strong the whole way through, can benefit by saving $1 million, maybe $700,000, $500,000 if they do this now. Now we have this comment from Elston as well saying that they need to see more from Hronek before they sign him. How much more do you want to see?
Well, I think I agree with Elson to an extent, right? Like if you're locking up Hronek for 6 years, 7 years, even 8 years, yeah, I kind of want to see a bit more. And to be honest, and we'll get to this a bit in segment 2, I want to see him play away from Quinn Hughes, because I just think, you know, you're basing a lot. You're basing what you're tying Hronek to in terms of his contract to how he's played with Quinn Hughes. I mean, the guy has spent 75% of his ice time at even strength with Quinn Hughes so far.
89, 90%, 95. I think the number's like 95%. I know you probably have the analytical number for sure ahead of me, but I feel like it's 98.5% of the time that we've seen those two together.
I mean, at even strength so far this season, Hronek has played or skated for 478 minutes with Quinn Hughes and 167 minutes away from Quinn Hughes.
Damn.
So I'm not sure what the math is on that, but I'm thinking around 75, 80% of the time he's been with Quinn Hughes, right? So it's been sporadic. I mean, it's pretty much since day one, or maybe at the last day of the preseason, right? That the two have been together. So yeah, I mean, if you're able to get Hronek at some sweetheart deal, which I don't think is really the case, because I know he's an RFA, he's team controlled, he's cost controlled to an extent. But you know, other teams like right shot defensemen are the most hard to find asset out there right now, right? So I would imagine there's a team that's probably willing to part with a couple draft picks and maybe offer sheet this guy. Again, we never really see that, but I mean, right shot defensemen are really, really hard to find. And
yeah,
I think there was some skepticism about Hronek before the Canucks acquired him, because really, like we said, we talked about it every day. There's no. He kind of had one good season in Detroit before we acquired him, and this season I think he's been good overall. But the last couple weeks, or even the last month or two, have given me some pause about how much do you really want to pay this guy? Because before it's like, yeah, this guy looked like an $8 million plus player. Again, you want to get that contract under what Hughes is making, that $7.85 million. But you could command more than that. Now it's like, ooh, how close do I even want this guy to Quinn Hughes? Like, that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Damn, you're scared, man. You're scared. So did you want to punch me in the face when I said, yo, the Vancouver Canucks got to sign this guy for 8 before they have to sign him for 8.5? If he does have a good second half of the season, if he does have a good playoffs, like, am I way too over the top? And I'll also say this, like, let us know in the comments below. Like, is it really that necessary to go to the negotiation table with Filip Hronek and tell him, like, yo, you're not making more than Quinn Hughes, when Quinn Hughes signed this deal a couple years ago and he's going to be up for an extension in a couple years? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it that strong of a negotiable? That's a word, tactic? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, you make a fair point. And I think another good point you made earlier on the episode too. Shoot, I forgot about it, man. That's
I'm a power forward in hockey, man. I'm a power forward in hockey. Not gonna front, man. I used to bring I think I brought one girl I was dating at a time to a ball hockey game, and she was definitely turned off. Not by my performance, but by the sport itself. It's like she was
Probably
watching
smelled
gym
what it was
class.
like in the Langley Ball Hockey Center there.
No, it's
Whatever
just
it was.
like ball hockey is one of the most unattracting sports you can watch if you're
Yeah.
a spectator, okay?
There you go. Thanks for the save, Kyle. You remind me. I think you made the point too. It's like, do you sign this guy now where he's had some ups, he's had some downs?
Mhm.
But what if we go into the playoffs and this guy like absolutely tears it up, and then you really got to pay this guy $8+ million.
Because he can. Because like, let's say him and Quinn Hughes elevate their game to what we saw in October and early November. Because that's possible, man. That's way more than possible. Just the truth. And then we're
Yeah.
talking about, oh, wow, this guy's playing like an 80-point defenseman. Oh, wow, he's really good in his own zone. Oh, wow, he's not making any mistakes, which really hasn't been the case over the last handful of weeks where I'm not going to say he's looked average. He's looked way above average. He's been a solid number 2 defenseman, but we've seen some mistakes in his game. Like, you're playing bad against the San Jose Sharks. Like, well, what's going on there? Are you tired? Are you fatigued? Are you not trying? Like, what's going on? Like, this can't be the case moving forward.
Yeah, and I also don't think Filip Hronek's been very good on the penalty kill either, right? So right now he's averaging the second most ice time among all Vancouver Canucks shorthanded, and the numbers like really haven't been all that pretty. Like guys like Ian Cole have it on the ice for the most goals against per 60 among Canucks defensemen, followed by Quinn Hughes, then Filip Hronek. But if you look at expected goals against, Filip Hronek actually has the worst expected goals against shorthanded. He's the only Canuck who is projected to allow more than 10 goals against per 60 shorthanded. So I haven't really liked Filip Hronek shorthanded. I found like he's not really getting in the passing lanes. He looks a little bit lost there to me. And again, this guy's been relied upon to be like a number one shutdown defenseman, both shorthanded and at even strength to a certain extent as well. So yeah, I mean, for Filip Hronek, I mean, I should throw a number out there, like to where my head's at right now.
Give me a number.
I think based on his fitness, the skills he brings to the table, and the fact that I do believe in the player from based on what I've seen, even if I have some hesitation. I mean, this isn't a new idea, but I would be comfortable going something like 7 years if you could lower the AAV, right? Like if you could get it under 7 and get him on a 7-year deal.
How about 7 for 7 though? 7 for 49, like $49 million. What's the number? 7 times 7, right? 49. I think that's the math.
That's something I'd probably be comfortable with, but I'm still not entirely comfortable.
I doubt that Hronek would do that
on the other side too.
Something tells me, like, I know you haven't spoken to Hronek. I know the world hasn't spoken to Hronek, but something tells me that this guy has a lot of swagger. He has a lot of inner confidence. He has a lot of FU to him. He wants to prove a lot of people wrong. Like Detroit already gave up on him. You know what I'm saying? After a career year, I don't think he's signing for long term if that dollar amount is not like $7.5 or $8 million. You know, like I don't think he's giving us a discount. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Unless, like we talked about yesterday, right?
Oh,
the Canucks
yeah.
make some noise in the playoffs, and guys are like, "Shoot, I have a chance to win a cup. Let's all take the discounts, baby." You know who's taking discounts? Kyle, you and I. Come on, man. We're doing this podcast for a discount at Locked On, man.
Hey, man. I swore earlier in the episode. You know, so I'm gonna get nicked for that. You may not see me tomorrow here on Locked On Canucks. Just letting you know, family show. It is what it is. But you got me excited, man. Talking about me being a power forward. Come on, man. Hey,
they weren't my words, man. They weren't my words. But let's continue this talk with the defense on the other side. I think for now, if the Canucks are going to sign Filip Hronek tomorrow, 7x7 would be really fascinating to me. But I do think, like you said, Kyle, Hronek's camp is going to be one of pushing for that $8 million plus, or at least somewhere really, really close to what Hughes is making. Maybe it's a 7.
Yo, is he better than Alex Edler? I think
so. 100%.
Exactly. So Filip Hronek's already the second best defenseman in Vancouver Canucks history. Probably right up there with Jovanovski, probably right up there with Lume. Like, he's already there. He's really good, man. He's really good. I'm really impressed with, again, that slight amount of arrogance, that confidence. He's got a lot of the tools, and I was really, really excited with what he was showing early on. Like, dude, this guy's elite, and I'm curious to see if he can do that post-Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we'll get into this on the other side about what are the Canucks' most optimal defensive pairs, because I don't think they're as optimal as they could be right now. But we'll get to that on the other side after I shout out Game Time. Have you ever been stressed out by buying tickets at the last minute? You know me, I'm a big last minute deals guy, and I found that the best place for killer deals at the last minute is Game Time. Yeah, you know Game Time. They got my back. I get these emails from Nicole at Game Time, and she's always teasing me with concerts and events this week in my area. Not only are those weekly emails a tease, but Game Time also offers me flash deals on last-minute tickets. You can get exclusive flash deals for tickets on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, Kyle's personal OnlyFans in-person show, and more.
Ooh.
Now I have no choice but to get out my rear end and go check out a local show on a Friday night. So make sure you snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Okay. You're back on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. This is the place, a.k.a. the home of the West Coast Bias. Shout out to the Don't Dose Art Lab for making this possible. And yo, shout out to Beggsy, man. Look at where he's at, okay? Ear infection. That's why he keeps opening his mouth like he wants something put in there. And he's at home, man. He's like, this guy's doing it all for the team. You know, he's got kids to take care of, a wife to take care of, blah, blah, blah. It's the holidays. But he's here, you know, talking about another man making millions of dollars, man. You're living the dream, man.
Yeah, one day you and I will be making hundreds of dollars, but for now we'll talk about other guys making millions of dollars.
We're making millions, man. That's just the truth. And then we're giving a lot of that back, especially to the city of Surrey. Before we get into the D combos, right? I know you've been nerding out about this for a long time. This guy wants to split up Filip Hronek and Quinn Hughes. Like, it's his life mission. Let's talk about the forward group just a bit, okay? Because we had Elston again, one of the best fans here on Locked On Canucks, talking about Kuzmenko and his chances of finishing the regular season with that top line. Look, he scored 2 goals against the worst team in the league, 2 goals in the first period, 2 goals in the first 7 minutes of that game on Saturday where he found himself back on the top line. It is way too important for this team to have a winger like that stay there in the top 6. So that way they don't have to fish for a guy like that via trade in order to, you know, guarantee somewhat of a long playoff run. Because I think the narrative and the expectations in that locker room and within the city and just in general throughout the hockey world are a lot different, okay? I'm not going to say cup or bust, but it's cup or bust, okay? And we need top 6 elite talent. We already got one guy in Kuzmenko. Let's not give up on him, and let's try to develop that chemistry between him and Pettersson. Again, that big break that the Canucks just had in between games, it's going to benefit their star talent a lot, and I do hope that we see, again, vintage Pettersson, Kuzmenko, if I can use that term, ASAP for the Vancouver Canucks. What are the chances for you that he is a top-line player the rest of the way?
Yeah, I probably give it like 60% or more. I think we've not seen, well, this isn't a bold statement. We haven't seen the best from Kuzmenko or Pettersson this season. And that's pretty wild to say about Pettersson because he's still on pace for 100 points. But I just think the best place for Kuzmenko is on that top line. I think Pettersson and Kuzmenko have showcased the chemistry. Everydayers know this, but I think the main reason they've scratched Kuzmenko is, Kyle, you alluded to it even earlier in this episode, right? Like, there are guys like Lafferty, Höglander, Suter, defensively responsible guys with less offensive upside who can slide to the top line and look fine. But the best way to get the most out of Kuzmenko, and I think the best way to get the most out of Pettersson too, is to have them play together.
And this team.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I just think it makes your top 6 that much more potent. I think you're kind of wasting Kuzmenko if you're not playing him with Pettersson. I get that, you know, talking the coaching staff want him to earn it. But whether they want him to earn it or not, I think it's not a secret. The best place for Kuzmenko is on that top line. And I think the Canucks coaching staff gets that.
And if we want to reverse all this PDO talk / the Vancouver Canucks are so lucky. Look at them. They average 18 shots per game, but they're scoring 5 goals a game. That is not sustainable. Regression is the name of the game when we're talking about that team on the West Coast, the best coast of Canada, blah, 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 blah. Point percent. Dude, if all that wants to change, we can generate, AKA, we can generate more offense if those two find that chemistry. And I think it could kind of shift the narrative from this team being a lucky team to, no, this team is deep, really deep. And they have 2 dynamic wingers, right? And Brock Besser and Andrei Kuzmenko. Let's go on to the decor now. I'm really curious to see who you have as the best pairs for the Vancouver Canucks moving forward post-Christmas. I'm assuming that you have Carson Soucy in this mix because he may be coming back fairly soon. And if that's the case, I do want to shout out the Surrey boy, Noah Juleson, for, again, bro, my rear end is wide right now. It is wide, bro, because for months and months and months and months, players like Sam Lafferty and now Noah Juleson have just, right up there, bro. Right up there, twisting it. Noah Juleson, I don't know how he did it, but he turned himself into a 78 overall hockey player after being a 71 overall for months and months. Anyways, let's say he's out of the lineup. Who are the ideal pairings for the Vancouver Canucks?
Yeah, and I think one of the important things to remember here is that, again, Hughes and Hronek have played together for so much time this season. One stat that I wanted to shout out that I kind of saved from segment one is that without Quinn Hughes on the ice, Filip Hronek's Corsi percentage is 40%. The Canucks have controlled 40% of shot attempts with when Hronek is on the ice without Quinn Hughes. That's not very good. So I think, we talked about kind of keep them together, how much this season matters for the Canucks. But I do think with where they are in the standings right now, I think it's not only prudent, but I think you can afford to have Hughes and Hronek play apart from each other. They just haven't looked as sharp over the past month or so. I think you're kind of boosting Hronek's value artificially by keeping them on the same pair. So for me personally, I'm going to stick with what I said in the preseason. I still want to see Quinn Hughes play with Carson Soucy. They got preseason game together. It didn't go great, but Carson Soucy had just given birth to twins. I think he might even missed a day in preseason with some injuries too. I could be wrong there, but again, these guys got 24 hours together, one practice, one preseason game. I think that they could be a good pair together. I think that's not a bad way to get the most out of Soucy, and maybe depress Hronek's value a bit, or at least see how he looks away from Quinn Hughes for an extended period of time. So for me personally, I would go Hughes, Soucy. I would go Cole, Hronek, and on the third pair, I would go Zadorov and Myers.
Whoa!
With Noah Juulsen's played a lot better. I look at the PK stats. I look at Noah Juulsen, willing to get in the lanes, something Filip Hronek's not doing while he's shorthanded. And I do think there's an argument to be made that maybe Noah Juulsen could even replace Tyler Myers in the lineup.
Oh, yo, you're bold, man. I don't know about keeping Myers and Zadorov together long term, bro. For real. Because
there's a difference for me if they're on the third pairing, bottom pair, like actual bottom pairing,
actually
minutes,
playing like 14 minutes a game.
Where we go right now.
Yeah, because I feel like because Hronek and Hughes have been struggling a bit, and maybe they're trying to soften up their minutes in preparation for the actual haul, the actual dance, the playoffs. But I think, again, since they've kind of been struggling, Tocchet has kind of evened out the minutes. And we've seen, 17 minutes from Zadorov and Myers, 18 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And that's way too much. Honestly, I can't say they've been openly struggling, but they've been on the ice for a lot of goals. A lot of goals, man.
Yeah.
It's concerning, to say the least. And because of that, I would love to see Soucy back with Myers. I feel like that duo was rock solid when they were together. Like, how did we talk about Ian Cole saving Noah Juulsen's career? Yo, Carson Soucy did the same for Tyler Myers, and I would lean on that. And I don't know how good Zadorov and Ian Cole would be together, but that's something that I would look at because I'm not really in a position to split apart Quinn Hughes and Filip Hronek. I think when they're at the top of their game, it is that Devon Toews, Cale Makar level of, oh crap, we got to play against these guys. Nothing's going to happen. Like, we're not producing nothing. We're going to be hemmed in our own zone. And that play that Hronek and Hughes continue to make at the blue line when they're just walking the line and making that hard pass that's like 100 feet away from them. You know what I'm saying? Like that play that they always make, it creates too much offense. It creates too much problems for the other team. And that's a weapon that I want continue to be used by the Vancouver Canucks. And I don't know if that's going to happen if Soucy's up there or if there's, again, another guy playing with Quinn Hughes. Filip Hronek has done so much for Quinn Hughes. So much. And again, what we saw in October and November, I've said it like 4 or 5 times already in this episode because I'm praying for it. I'm manifesting it, okay? I need to see that from the top duo in hockey when it comes to d-pairings. And I think those two can still live up to that expectation that we had early on.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to leave up to the commenters or you listening right now. Interact with us on YouTube, comment on the video, find us on Twitter. You can even comment on Spotify now. Which optimal D pairings are better? Mine. So again, I had Hughes with Soucy, Cole with Hronek, Zadorov with Myers or Juulsen. Kyle had Hughes and Hronek, Cole with Cole with Zadorov, and then Soucy with Myers. Let us know in the comments. I like mine better, but I'm a cocky guy. Speaking of cocky, maybe Kyle and I will talk about who did better for their girl on Christmas on the other side. We also got a shout out. Also going to shout out Cam Neely, former Canuck of the Week. I'll give you a hint. It is a defenseman. But before we do that, I got to shout out FanDuel. Right now, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. I'm not going to ask Kyle what he thinks of his Green Bay Packers because I did that yesterday. Just going to shout out the odds right now for the Green Bay Packers to make the playoffs. If you think they're going to make the playoffs, it's plus 225, so you could get $25 with a $10 bet. It's minus 290 for them not to make the playoffs. Yikes. Ooh. That's tough for the Green Bay Packers there. And it looks like Jair Alexander is suspended, not playing. Oh, my God, Kyle.
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's okay. Team decision. It's okay. We're not worried. If we were worried, we wouldn't have done that.
The Seattle Seahawks are pretty much actually they're exactly the opposite of Green Bay. So they're minus 290 to make the playoffs, plus 225 to miss the playoffs. So go Seahawks, go playing the Steelers and the Arizona Cardinals. I'm believing in my Seahawks. Whether you believe in the Seahawks, the Packers, or another NFL team, make sure you go place your bets on FanDuel. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, overs, unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Okay, you're back on Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Everyone in the comments below, wish Trevor Beggs good luck because he's dealing with an ear infection, okay? That's just the truth, man. Send him some love, man. How you doing, man? How's life, man? You're struggling over there.
It's a good week to have some time where I guess I'm working, but it's reduced hours for sure. So nice to have some time to chill out here with the family and rest up, man. You know, the whole family's pretty much been sick for all of December. I've kind of avoided until the past few days here. So, but you know what? It was a good Christmas, man. You asked me about that yesterday. I feel like I did good for my girl for Christmas. How about you, man? How do you feel like you did for?
Okay, well, why don't you say it first, man? You say it first. You promised her candles. Like, what else did you grab her? Like, did the peer pressure get to you and you grabbed her like a brand new car or something? Like, what happened?
A brand new car? No, I knocked it off in the fall. I should have saved that for Christmas when I was smart. No,
Begsy, big boy, Begsy.
I've never been in a Lululemon store in my life. I ended up getting my girl a pair of Lululemon pants for Christmas, and that was one of the main gifts, and the other one was just a silver necklace she was eyeing. So that was much main gifts for Christmas. So I think I did all right.
Yo, you and I got our girls necklaces, man. Yo, we romantic, man. 30 and a half years old, Begsy and Bowen, pulling up romantic on Christmas, dishing out necklaces, dishing out that bling, okay? That's that locked on money. That's that locked on money, protecting our relationships, spoiling our girls. For real, you got a Lululemon pass and a necklace and some candles, bro. Begsy, applause to you, man. I would not have a girlfriend if it wasn't for Trevor Beggs. This guy taught me how to be romantic. This guy taught me chivalry. The love that you have with your wife, it rekindled my belief in love. That's just the truth, okay? Because I was a dark guy. You think I'm dark now, people watching this? No, I was dark before. I was cold as well. But again, Begsy showed me love. He had me drive over the flowers to his wedding. This guy's wedding was the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to. We're talking on top of a mountain in Revelstoke. This guy comes out of a helicopter. Man, Begsy, you're beautiful, man. And a necklace for Christmas and candles, man. Unbelievable, okay? Unbelievable. Take it away, man, or else I'm gonna start crying, man.
I appreciate all the love you're showing me, man. I'm going to show up a little bit of love to a former Canuck here with the Cam Neely former Canuck of the week. So my Cam... I don't want to say goodbye.
I had to throw that in there, okay?
We did have a drop. I couldn't remember if we had a drop for that or not, but
it's okay.
Kudos to you, buddy, doing 85% of the work here on Locked On Canucks. My Cam Neely former Canuck of the week. Kyle, it's the same age as you and I, okay? So I'm showing at another 93 birthday.
Let me guess.
Ben Hutton, born on April 20th, 1993. Ben Hutton, man, I mean, you know, even though he hasn't really figured it out in terms of being a top four defenseman, that never really came to transpire. The guy's still in the NHL, man, still making things happen. He's in his 8th NHL season now. But he just signed a contract extension with the Vegas Golden Knights. a 2-year deal that's going to pay him $975,000 a season for the next 2 years. Ben Hutton, man, just kudos to that guy for figuring it out. He had one good season in Vancouver and then obviously looked like he was playing way above his head. But again, he's managed to carve out a role in the NHL. He's now got almost 500 career NHL games under his belt, and he's now locked in to play with one of the best teams in the NHL for the next 2 seasons, man. So kudos to Ben Hutton. Want to give him a shout out here. And the Cam Neely, former Canuck of the week. Ben Hutton's actually only missed 6 games for the Golden Knights this year. He's played 29 of the 35 games, which I know it's partly because of injury. Actually, it's largely because of injury, but good for him for at least holding down nearly an everyday spot in the lineup.
And I know he barely played in the playoffs last year. I don't even know if he played a game, but he did get his name on the cup. And I think there was a rumor going around or a rule going around that he wasn't going to have that done because he didn't play enough games. But maybe the Golden Knights, A, did that because they're a class organization, and B, because we know it. Ben Hutton seems like that team guy, that glue guy.
Yeah.
Really important, okay? Before games, really important. During practices, really important. I'm not saying Vegas doesn't win a cup without Ben Hutton, but he's a big part of that aura that led them to a cup, right? And it was a class act on them to do so. And yeah, 30 years old, Ben Hutton as well, 30 and a half years old. Bro, how do you feel, man? I know we keep cracking the jokes, erectile dysfunction, all this stuff, back pain, all this. 30 and a half years old, 2024, around the corner. We're about to turn 31. And then before you know, it'll be 46. Your hair's going to turn gray. So, like, how do you feel? How do you feel?
I mean, I love my life, man, but time definitely does move by quicker. Like, I was thinking the other day, like, it's been, 4 years since I went to Australia, nearly 4 years since COVID hit.
Whoa.
It just feels like, the previous 4 years didn't feel like it went by that fast. You know what I mean? So I think time goes by faster as you get older. That's one of the sad truths about life, but you just got to love every day, man. Ooh. And thank the Lord that we are cheering and covering a good hockey team, man. That means a lot to me. And
thank Aquilini. Can we get that in the comments below too? Like, yo, no, what do you mean? He hired Rutherford. So can we just say, forgive us, Aquilini, in the comments below? Are we ready for that? Anyways, before we get out, let's get to a couple more comments and then let Trevor sign us out. We had Callum talk about the Hronek contract, the extension. How about 7 years at $6 million, please? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, okay? $6 million for Filip Hronek. He'll laugh at us. But you can go ahead and pray and be hopeful. Go ahead, man. For real. How about this one from Elston again? Did we figure out a name for that third line? I did hear something on the radio. Somebody else made it up. I think they called it the Lucky 8 line. 5 and 3, Bluger equals 8. Connor Garland, number 8. Dakota Joshua has an 8 in his number. The Lucky 8 line. I didn't really mind that one. I don't know if I can think of anything better than that. This all being said, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks. Go Canucks, go. Remember, we are all Canucks. Love us or hate us, agree with us or not. We are just that. What? Again, we are all Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. Shout out to the Don't Doze Art Lab. Shout out to the Locked On Podcast Network. Trevor Beggs, my second best friend in the whole world. Sign us out.
Second best behind the dog. There we go, man. Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who joined us for our live show on YouTube. We love each and every one of you. Happy holidays to you listening and your families as well. Yeah, it's still the holidays, baby, okay? Until we get into the new year. Excited for 2024, both with life and with this show here, Locked On Canucks. But for the rest of the week, we'll talk a bit about the Flyers-Canucks game. They're one game this week that's taking place tomorrow. And what else we're going to cover? Find out one on the next episode of Locked On Canucks. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team